Hi, my name is Elisa and I'm a trainer with Lalicious. I'm here today to show you a few pro tips and tricks on how to work with our product, as well as go over some of our signature moves for our signature treatment. The products that I'm going to be using today are the Lalicious Sugar Scrub, a little bit of the lip butter, some body butter, and the oil. This will be used for the scalp treatment. It's an amazing product. I like to explain a little bit about the texture of the product to therapists when they're first introduced to this. As you can see, the scrub itself has this amazing unique texture that's unique to Lalicious, and it has this nice fluffy consistency. That will allow you a few things. One, you can use the product from top to bottom and there won't be any oil at the top and you don't have to mix it. And secondly, it'll allow you to be creative with your clients. You can use whatever shape you like to customize your treatment if you want to make it into a heart or any shape that you can think of, and it makes it very nice to customize it. I'm also going to be using the body butter. So this is fun for mixology. If I were doing a mixology treatment today, I would choose 2 different fragrances, allow my guests to select them, and then customize it for them. They mix very well together, the different aromas that we have. When you do mix them together, it changes the consistency just a little bit. Almost looks like frosting. It's got a nice whipped texture to it. This is going to make your life a lot easier in the treatment room. It's going to make it easier to apply and easier to remove. If you have a guest that prefers a little bit more abrasiveness to their scrubs, obviously you would use more of the sugar scrub. And if they're sensitive skin, you can use a little bit of the body butter. And this will allow you some freedom in your treatment, and you can move around back and forth to different parts of the body with the aggressiveness of the scrub. Very versatile. I've just made a beginning setup. Your spa will probably have something that looks a little bit different, but the basic bed setup would probably be somewhat similar. What I've done for the setup today is I have a fitted sheet, followed by a top sheet, plastic wrap. If your spa has an aluminum blanket or a mylar blanket, you can use that as well as the plastic, and then just followed by a top sheet. Your spa will probably have a blanket or a top on top, so whatever you use on top, just follow your spa's instructions. At the top of the bed, I've just put a hair wrap because we will be doing a little bit of a scalp treatment later on, but this is the basic setup for our Lalicious treatment. This is the Lalicious back treatment. I've started by putting the product on my hands, making it a little bit warm in my hands, but you want to keep that texture just the way it is, so you don't want to heat it in the towel warmer. So I've started by introducing my touch with the back of my hands. Our Lalicious signature move for the back is just a slow, deep pressure up and around the hips. After you've introduced the product and done your Lalicious signature move, this is your time to be creative and to show off all that amazing ability that you have to make an amazing treatment yourself. So you have some freedom to create the rest of your back scrub from there. You can also work it down the backs of the arms. And depending on the time that you have for the treatment, you can spend a little time here because people tend to really enjoy the back portion. So this is the best part of Lalicious treatments. We're going to be removing the product. If you haven't worked with this product before, you'll be surprised at how amazingly easy it is to remove this scrub. So I've just placed a warm towel on her back. I'm going to give it a minute, a couple nice compressions. This is actually going to start melting the sugar, and you will have such an easy time removing it. If you notice, there's no product that is dropped to the floor, no crunchies that I'm stepping on. And I'm just going to do a nice removal. And believe it or not, that's it. You will have the product off. It's such an easy product to work with when you mix the two together. So after you've completed the back scrub portion of the treatment and followed with your massage, you move down to the legs. I've draped one leg already. Make sure that you follow your spa's protocols for your draping in your spa, but I'm going to have both of her legs open just to make it a nice even flow for the scrub portion of the legs. Same signature Lalicious move. It's going to be welcome touch with the back of the hands. Nice, slow, deep circles in patterns of 3. And then it's your freestyle. You don't have to worry too much about any choreography. You can just go in and do your style of movements. At this time, it would also be the appropriate time to work on the heels of the feet. When working on the heels, I like to take the body scrub all by itself because it's a little more aggressive, and really get in there and get a nice deep scrub. Remember that your client might be ticklish, keep that in mind. And then repeat on the other leg. Once again, the removal of the product is very simple, just like with the back. You want to give the heat of the towel a few seconds to melt the product a little. These compressions feel really good anyways. It gives you an opportunity to give your client a little love. And you'll notice, even though we're working with plastic, there is no product left on the table. So this is going to make your cleanup a lot easier. And we've all had it happen where we start our massage portion and there's a little bit of product left. This will ensure that you don't have that product, and it'll make your job a lot easier. I now have my client lying face up on the table. We're going to be doing the front portion of the legs. I've pre-draped her for this demonstration. I'm going to avoid using too much pressure because the scrub can really irritate the top of the feet. So I'm going to go in with a nice light pressure this time, and then into our signature Lalicious stroke moves. We're going to flow, and once we've completed the signature Lalicious moves, we're going to have the ability to show our creativity and choreograph our own moves at this point. And you'll see that this product not only can create such a luxurious treatment that feels amazing, it's going to be your favorite treatment to perform because of how easy it is to use and prepare. I'm going to repeat on the second leg. And then instead of just removing the product, we're going to do something a little bit different this time. I'm going to wrap the legs in the hot towels, cover it with the plastic, leaving it on the body for a moment. If you have a Mylar sheet in your spa, you could even do a second wrap with that, or an aluminum blanket. And we're going to leave them wrapped up while we move on to the arms and the face and the scalp. And it creates a nice little cocoon for your client to wrap. I'm going to, of course, warn my guest about the temperature. This is going to feel warm. I like to go from corner to corner just because it gives you some versatility, and when you pull up the bottom and tuck it under. Do a nice wrap along the bottom. And then you'll repeat on the other side. Once I have both legs done, the second wrap, you can cross over both to give you that mermaid cocoon feeling. Cover with your sheet. And then you'd lay whatever your spa uses for a blanket or a warming tool on top of your guest at this point. Now that I have my client all wrapped up in her cozy cocoon wrap, I'm going to move on to the arms. I want to keep in mind that she might get cold, so I want to check in from time to time just to make sure that the temperature stays consistent for her. I'm going to start by doing our signature Lalicious move, the strokes in 3, nice slow strokes. The décolleté is an area that quite often will get a little pinkish, and that's healthy, normal, and actually something that you want. Once again, 3 times. And then you can go into your own custom moves. I'm going to make sure that I give a lot of attention to the hands because they tend to be dry, and that's an area that your guest will walk out of the room and they usually will give a, "That smells so good," which opens a conversation for some at-home care. I'm going to repeat on the other side and remove as we did in the rest of the body. When done, I like to cover both arms after the removal of the product and the massage so that the entire body is nice and warm, pulling the blanket that you have from the bottom up to the top, unless your guest is too warm. And from there, we can move on to our face massage. So when doing a full body massage, we will have just finished our arm massage, covered the client up so that they're nice and warm, and I'm going to go into wrapping her hair to prepare for the facial massage. I've just taken a hand towel and folded it from corner to corner, making a nice little upside down V shape, and placed it on the table. I'm going to make sure that I have her ears covered. Remember, if you talk to your client at this point, they probably won't be able to hear you as well, so anything you need to say, you probably would have wanted to say it ahead of time. But now we have her nice and secure, and her hair is protected. I'd move into the facial massage. I'm going to be using just some small facial stones. You're welcome to use whatever your spa prefers. Jade is really nice. Rose quartz crystal is really nice. I'm just going to be using small facial stones. For my slip and glide, I'm going to be using the oil. And instead of applying it directly to her skin, I'm going to apply it to the stones. These stones have been in water and ice, so they're nice and cool and refreshing. It may cause the oil to solidify a little bit because it is a coconut oil. So if that happens, just work it with your hands and it'll warm up and melt as you go along. I'm going to warn her that it's going to be cool because it can be a little shocking. I like to use the word refreshing because it sounds a little bit nicer than cold. So I just warn the guest this is going to feel cool and refreshing. And just to apply the product, I'm going to do some nice sweeping strokes. At this time, if you realize you need any more slip and glide or oil, now would be the time to apply it. And then I'm going to follow along with my lymphatic drainage. Spending a little time underneath the eyes because the cool feels so nice. And if anyone is tired or puffy, the cool stones will feel really refreshing to them. And for a third time, and then depending on the time that you're working with, if you have a little time, you can freestyle a little bit at this point, which guests usually like. Quite often I hear the favorite part of their treatment was the cool, refreshing feeling. Something pretty magical happens when you combine different textures and temperatures. Just really keeping in mind to pamper your guest and make it such a luxurious experience for them. We're now moving on to the Lalicious scalp treatment. Some questions that you want to have maybe addressed during your consultation, just to ensure that your guest is happy with their treatment, is that you want to make sure that they're okay with having product in their hair. And you might want to inquire if they're prone to getting headaches. Sometimes extreme temperature changes can give them a migraine or a headache. So assuming that our guest doesn't have either of those concerns, I would use a little bit of a hot oil, making our scalp massage a hot oil treatment. And it's beautiful. It's very, very nice. The signature move for Lalicious that makes it a Lalicious treatment is the way we'd like to drizzle our oil. We're going to start in the center and work in a crown motion, back and forth. Placing your thumb down so it's not a direct on the scalp. I'm going to test the temperature of the oil. And then I'm going to slowly drizzle and let the weight of the product pull down. Going all along the crown. As it starts to drip down, it can tickle a little bit sometimes. So I like to run my fingers over, giving a different sensation. and pulling the product to the ends of the hair. It will feel like a lot of product at the top of the crown of the head, but by the time we're done with the treatment, you're going to have the majority spread out through the hair. In your protocol, you'll notice that it calls for deep circles. When I do my deep circles, I like to concentrate more on moving the scalp than the hair necessarily, so I look for the scalp to move itself. And before I go into my freestyle, I'm going to ensure that there's oil all throughout the scalp. I'm going to turn her head, drizzle along one side, turning to the other side and doing the same. And now I can go into my freestyle movements. This is where you can either speed up your treatment time or slow it down depending on your schedule for the day and how the flow of the treatment is gone. When I've ensured that I've gotten a nice even application of the oil to her hair, I'm going to give a couple of compressions with a hot towel. I'm going to use the same technique from corner to corner from the towel. Thank you. Just going from the opposite direction, from top to bottom this time. Towel, corner to corner, placing it on top of her head, tucking underneath, then I'm going to wrap it using the technique we did earlier for the facial massage. A few compressions. This does a couple of things for your client. The heat is very relaxing. Want to make sure they're staying warm because they're probably cooling off a little bit from where we have them wrapped earlier. And the hot oil also responds well to heat. It helps the hair absorb the oil as well. Depending on your timing, you can give it a few minutes. If you need to move on, nice flow to remove it. And then I like to go through and just make sure that there's no excess oil in the hair. And then remove. From here, we're going to go down and take off the product from the legs and complete with our leg massage and finishing with a foot massage. So at this point, we're going to close our service. Our guest is feeling amazing at this point, hydrated and relaxed. Hopefully everything is just feeling amazing for her. I've taken a little bit of a lip butter and put it on the back of my hand. I'm just going to apply a little bit so that every single part of her body is nice and hydrated. If you prefer to do this with an applicator, that's completely acceptable as well. And then I'm going to do a couple inhalations to let her know that our treatment has come to a complete closure. I put a little bit of the oil on my palm. I set my intentions to be positive for my guest, and I instruct her to take some nice deep inhalations. I'm going to come around to the ears so that she knows I'm working my way out from the body and leaving my connection with her. Shaking off the energy and thanking her. Thank you so much for being my model today. I'm going to remove her hair towel and say goodbye to my guest. I hope that you all enjoy doing these Lalicious treatments as much as I do. I hope that it goes smoothly for you and that your guests enjoy it. So yeah, thank you for listening today.